Not many people here.
Okay, we'd like to welcome everybody here to our commission meeting. It's 11:03. We welcome everybody. We have all three commissioners here, as well as our administrator, our assistant county attorney, and our county clerk. And we're ready to conduct the business of the county this morning. First of all, I won't go through a roll call vote, but will announce that we have Sylvia and Jamie here and myself. We begin these meetings with an invocation and a pledge of allegiance. So if we have anybody that would like to volunteer to say our invocation today, that would be great. Or if nobody volunteers, do you want to do it, Sylvia?
I'll do it.
Okay, thank you.
Our Heavenly Father, we come before Thee today. We come with a grateful heart for the many blessings that are bestowed upon us as people. We are grateful for the moisture that was provided, that we may be able to sustain ourselves, be able to water our gardens and take care of our needs. And we're so grateful for the opportunity we had to live in this part of Thy vineyard. Heavenly Father, at this time we ask that Thou will bless the people in San Juan County from the north to the south, the east to the west. Bless them with the things they are in need of. Bless them with opportunity to prosper. Bless them with opportunity for their families. Bless those that may be afflicted or in need of special blessings. We ask that Thou will bless the staff of this county as they go about working and doing what is required of them. Bless them with health and strength and whatever needs they may have. We are grateful for this nation. We ask that Thou will bless and protect our freedoms. Bless those in power, that they would choose to do those things that are in accordance to the foundation of this nation. Heavenly Father, we at this time ask that You will bless our road keepers as they go about in the storms, they be protected. Bless them, each of us, as we sit here, that we choose to make righteous decision. Bless that whatever decision we make will be for creating opportunities for everyone in this beautiful county. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sylvia. We're going to ask Doug Allen if he'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Want to come right up this mic?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, I'm going to turn the time over to our county administrator to help us conduct the public comment section of our meeting.
Okay. Appreciate that. For public comments, I don't see anybody in the audience that signed up for public comment. Brittany. Sorry. So with public comments, just as a reminder, we allow each member of the public wishing to make a public comment 3 minutes to do so. Please be courteous and kind with your public comments. Also understand that it is not an opportunity to deliberate with the commissioners. This is an opportunity for the commissioners to hear from the public themselves. with that being said, and not seeing any members of the audience sign up online, if you're wanting to make a public comment, there's a function on Zoom that allows you to raise your hand. If you're able to do that, we will then go through those individuals that have raised their hands. If not, after seeing nobody else, then we can ask you to unmute yourself as well if you cannot find that raise your hand function. With that being said, I do have a hand raised. It's been raised for a while. I have Aaron Nelson's town manager of Bluff. Did you wish to make a public comment? Hold on, let me see. I'll bet.
You need to unmute it.
Yes.
Do it yourself.
Hey, Aaron, can you hear us? We're at the public comment period. Did you wish to make a public comment? I see that you have disappeared. Hey, Ann, can you hear us? Marlene, can you hear us? So you can hear us fine? Okay. Just making sure our sound. I got a text from saying that nobody could hear us. But as long as Marlene can hear us, then I'm going to. Marlene's everybody for us today. So I'm not seeing any hands raised. If anyone wants to make a public comment, go ahead and unmute yourself if you're unable to find that raise your hand function. Not seeing anyone unmute themselves and no members of the audience stepping up to the pulpit. Commissioners, that is your public comment period for today.
Okay. Mac, will you read the items on the consent agenda and then we'll vote on it?
Absolutely. So on here you've got item number 1, the approval of the February 21st, 2023 Commission work session meeting minutes. You've got the approval of the February 21st, 2023 Commission meeting minutes. Let me pull this up for the audience to see as well, just in case y'all wanted to see it. Item number 3, approval of the February 17th, 2023 to March 2nd, 2023 check registers. Item number 4, approval of the 2023 alcohol consent form from Hole in the Rock Desert Bloom LLC. Item number 5 is approval of $32,450.83 in small purchases. We had $2,497 for training vouchers for the emergency management department. You had $6,410.32 for replacement parts, for Flaherty parts for the road department. $11,950 for the replacement parts of a motor grader. As you can imagine, snowplow and motor graders right now are being used heavily with the snow removal. So with that becomes replacement parts. So you got $1,514.87 in replacement parts for the dump truck at the road department as well. We've got $6,421.91 for overspeed rupture valve inspection for the elevator here in this building from facilities maintenance. And then you've got $3,206.73 for the Muffin Monster parts over at the public safety building that protects the sewers going into the city system from clothes, bed sheets, all those type of items that inmates may send down the toilet. That Muffin Monster catches it and grinds everything up. And so right now it's broken down and we bypassed that system, so we had to hurry and speedily get some parts for that. Those are your 5 items under the consent agenda that you have today.
Okay. Just want to point out to the other 2 commissioners on our, let's see, what is it? Our check register. One of the big payments that we made, $454,000, was to PEHP, which is our insurance carrier. We had another fairly large purchase, 60-some thousand. Let's see, what was it? Anyway, sometimes we have, to state of Utah,
Okay.
and I think that's retirement payment. But other than that, I didn't see anything question unless any of you did. Jamie?
Chair, I think there's 6 consent item agenda, or 6 items on the consent agenda.
There's one in the next
The
page.
the next page.
Oh, that's recognition.
That's
the next-
recognition.
That's the next.
Yeah, they're just the 5, I think.
All right.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Sylvia. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jamie. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. That is 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Okay, now we'll move to the recognition presentations. Who's going to do this, Mac? Or you?
Yeah, so this
Okay.
one here, you'd seen the email from the Utah Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity on the local broadband planning grant award of $50,000. I submitted this while we were up at the state legislators as the intent and the scope of work that I put forward was to hire a consultant for that $50,000 to help us more so at the chapter level. So here throughout the county, we're pretty well covered with broadband from Emory Telecom, where they've gone through, they're all the way down to Mexican Hat, crossing over into Alchita, and then supposed to carry on to Navajo Mountain. That was all approved before COVID on a federal award. So we're a little bit further advanced than I'd say other counties are regarding broadband infrastructure, other than those that live along the I-15 corridor and the Wasatch Front. So for as a rural county, we're doing well, but what isn't doing well is our chapters down south. And, every month we meet with the broadband coalition that was formed with surrounding states of the Navajo Nation. And we met this last week. Jamie was there, I was there. They help kind of coordinate all of the broadband at a higher level, and they hear even from the state of Utah's on that call as we push for permitting. That's a lot of it through the Navajo Nation is the flexibility of permitting. It seems like everything is stuck at the permitting level regarding easement agreements, things like that. And so they formed a new office to help speed up their permitting side of it. But what is missing is that chapter level communication and coordination. What needs to take place at the chapter level so that we can connect those residents at the chapter level and feed that information back up to NTUA or to the state of Utah or to whoever, so that we can connect everything at that last mile or middle mile. So this consultant, because I don't have time to wrangle all this grant allows for us to hire that consultant to help with that and help with the local coordination at a lower level. When I reached out to one of the chapters, it was Red Mesa I reached out to, and I asked the chapter president, I'm like, have you heard anything with broadband? And he's like, absolutely nothing. Well, there's these high-level discussions taking place monthly, and there's work being done by the Navajo Nation, but at the lower level, it's not being heard. And so we need to sometimes reach up into government and pull the fruit down to us. And so this consultant is that attempt to help us bring all of this together, especially for the Utah chapters of the Navajo Nation. So that's the intent with this. In some of their discussions, they mentioned that all of this has to be done by June. And that's kind of why I brought it to you, to make sure that you're aware of it. But if documents come quickly like that, and we have to go through an RFP, which typically for me runs about a month process. And so that's March to April. And then I've got May, June for a consultant. Things may have to happen fast. And if those do, I may have to communicate with you through email to sign the agreement so that we can get going on this. Because as you know, bureaucracy is slow. And bureaucracy workings is slower, and so we may be behind the 8 ball. But I'm thankful for the money, thankful for the grant and the opportunity to at least get a consultant on board and hire it out. We could easily bankroll it, and so knowing that we've got the 50,000 coming, go ahead and issue the RFP and go down that road, and using non-departmental funds that we've kind of placed for the internet and our IT stuff, and use that portion as contracting, and then use the state money to reimburse us with that. And so there's an opportunity, if with your permission, to go ahead and start recruiting through the RFP process, knowing that I haven't signed any agreements or anything for the money to get things going, knowing that there's going to be that tight time frame, unless they change the window and allow for further time frame, then things can change. But at least I wanted to bring those opportunities to you.
I have a question. Would that include Juan Mesa and Westwater?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Not Westwater. We'll have to look at, but I think it's worthwhile to have that discussion to see,
Okay.
because Emory Telecom, they should be feeding right there to Emory already. Emory is covered Blanding, Bluff, Montezuma Creek,
Okay.
and so their network is already through there. They have the infrastructure there. So Westwater communities should be able to connect through that.
Okay.
But I'll follow up on that just to make sure Emory Telecom has that covered. But throughout this area, LaSalle, Spanish Valley, Emory Telecom has covered those areas pretty well. And so, and White Mesa, that line runs through White Mesa there. But when you get down to Tisnos Pos, Mexican Water, those areas, there's nothing at all. And so we should be covered on the White Mesa, but I'll check with Westwater and see where they're at.
2 years ago, when I was at the legislature, the UEN director came to me and said, "Are you aware of the opportunity that San Juan County has to get broadband to the schools, all the schools on the reservation?" He said, "But this is a $9 million allocation from the federal government, but it has to be matched by $1 million from the Utah State legislature." And I said, "Well, who are you meeting with?" And he told me, and I said, "Well, I have a good relationship with Evan Vickers. I'll just call him, see if we can come up and visit with him." So I called him. Were you at that meeting, Mac?
No,
I just called him and took the director up there and explained to him what needed to be done. And he said, "Don't worry, Commissioner Adams, I'll take care of it." And he got an appropriation for the $1 million. Then the federal government kicked in the $9 million to take the line, and Emory Telecom was chosen as the company to do it, to take the line to all of the schools in San Juan County. And so I don't know if that's been completed yet or not.
Not yet.
Matt?
There's
Still working on right-of-ways and stuff.
right-of-ways restriction, and the state of Utah told the Navajo Nation in that broadband call, is like, hey, this is expiring.
Yeah.
So if we don't get permission and approval to go through, it's going to expire. So hopefully that kind of helped kick things in gear, but that message was pretty loud and clear that project money is
So there was a
expiring.
lot of money allocated to do it. But
Yes, yep.
So I think it's important that we get this local person to work with the chapters and see if we can get things moving before it expires. So anyway, just some background for you.
Thank you.
So this is not an action item,
No,
but
it's more
more of
informational.
a discussion. Is there any other discussion either one of you want to have about this? Jamie, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of recommendations in regards to the funding. First of all, thank you, Mac. I know you were asking about what we thought about getting additional money. And I'm really grateful that you're able to secure that grant money for the Utah chapters. So appreciate it. And as well as you, Commissioner Adams, for your efforts in the past years to bring the fiber down. My first thought is it would be important to involve the Utah Navajo Trust Fund, maybe to reach out to Tony Dayish. They are having an annual meeting this month. I believe it's towards the end of March, where they're bringing together the Diné Advisory Committee members. They're members from all the 7 Utah chapters. That would be an excellent place to present a report regarding this grant.
Okay.
Another thought that I have is Commissioner Stubbs, you and I go to the Navajo Revitalization Fund meeting that's coming up, and I think it would be important for us to just present some information regarding this. I think the biggest barrier for the Utah chapters has been finding an entity or an organization to facilitate them, and to bring them together to one meeting. And if we can find a way to host and bring all the 7 chapters together, I think that would be very valuable.
Okay.
I know Frontier Communications would be an important organization to bring on board. NTUA Wireless would probably be another important entity. I know UNHS has been working with the Utah Education Network, so they would be important, as well as the Utah Education Network, because they're still trying to construct towers out there. Same issues, right of way, going through the Navajo Nation SAS process. And so those would be my highlights to this discussion. But definitely Tony Dayish, this coming meeting. And I forgot Clarence Rockwell
with Utah
Navajo Utah Commission. I know we have a meeting with Anna Chapter this Friday. It would be an awesome report to present to the elected leaders there this Friday. So that's all. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, one other thing I want to mention too is that Utah Education Network has come to the CIB a couple of times to get grant funding to help with this whole communication system throughout the state of Utah, and especially in San Juan County. And I know on 2 different occasions we granted them $1 million to help upgrade the equipment and help facilitate the educational needs throughout the area. So, okay, good discussion. We'll go to our business items next. Number 7, consideration and approval of the 2023 Wildland Fire Program participation commitment between San Juan County and Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands. David, were you going to take that?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning.
My name is David Gallegos, San Juan County Fire Chief for the new Commissioners. This is actually what I'm proposing to do for the commitment for the year. So I'm just needing a signature saying that you guys are aware of what I'm doing for the state for the commitment between the county and the state.
So you had a presentation last commission meeting in our work session from the state forest and fire. It is a requirement the county participates in this program and funds them. Through this program that Dave works through, we're able to offset some of those costs by labor and mitigation programs here at the county level. So kind of a grassroots effort to help mitigate some of our overgrown or wildland area. These individuals go through and work these projects in coordination with the state. State also helps us with those projects to try to figure out where to have them. For example, one of them that is kind of a highlight and the success of the program is prior to the Pack Creek fire, Dave and his crew had been into the Pack Creek area and had mitigated a lot of the overgrowth and areas in Pack Creek, and then you had the fire that come through, swept through there. We feel that there would have been a bigger loss of homes had Dave and his program not been through Pack Creek and mitigated some of that fire. Some individuals, and this is an elective of the property owners there, they can choose to take place in the program or not. Some homeowners there chose not to, and their homes were put into jeopardy, whereas those that had used this program to mitigate, it actually helped prevent some bigger spread of that fire. And so this program kind of helps offset our costs overall. Dave runs this all throughout the year. Oftentimes you'll see him up with his staff. We had recently purchased the wood chipper to help with that program, so that they're out there and can actually grind up the wood and haul it off a little bit easier.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
And 50% of this is mitigation, which is the fuels reduction, and prevention is education. And the preparedness is, like he said, the equipment that we purchase for our projects. So anyways, I just need a signature and we'll
Okay.
work on it through the year.
Can I make a comment?
You bet.
During the legislature, Representative Phil Lyman has a caucus, he calls the Yellow Cake Caucus, and they have a wonderful presentation, and it's on YouTube, talking about the importance of taking care of forests and overgrown for us to be able to get water. And so so this to me is not only about fire, it's about be able to harvest the water. They can run into a reservoir instead of the overgrown sucking it up.
Yep.
Anyway, so I appreciate that. And before you go, I want to give you my card because I want to talk to you about Mexican hat. Somebody reached out to me about that. I don't want to take the time here to
Okay.
wrestle with you about that.
They're not worried about the forest in Mexican Hat, are they?
No, they're worried
Okay,
about
all right.
a fire department, I think.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good. If you want to go through Mac, and then we'll set a meeting
Yeah.
or whatever.
Okay,
No
sounds
problem.
good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Dave, you might want to see what the vote is. No, it's
Can we have some wood chips after?
okay. Do we have a motion to approve the Wildland Fire Program Participation Agreement?
I'll motion.
Okay, we have
I'll
a motion
second.
by Jamie, a second by Sylvia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I also. Now wait just a minute. Don't leave. So that passes unanimously. I just want to let you know, Dave, we think that our agreement with Grand County Fire to offer protection for those homes in Spanish Valley with the $48,000 or $50,000 agreement,
46.
we think that's going to work really well, and we need that to work well for a few years and for several years until we actually make a decision as to what we're going to do down there. I know you're training people in Spanish Valley and stuff, but we want you to work with Mr. Brewer down there to provide that protection for those people down there. And I think that original contract, which increases it based on value of properties, he's willing to provide that service for the $50,000 until something really drastically changed. But he indicated to me he doesn't see anything changing for many years into the future, and they want to work with you and to work with Mac to provide that fire protection for those people in Spanish Valley. So I don't know if you've got any updates you want to.
That's actually a relief to hear that you guys are willing to maybe redo the contract, because I don't know where we're going to get the money for the building, for our fire trucks. And then I'll I'll work with Lloyd Wilson. He's the one that's taking over the fire. And
Well, until we make a decision on that, in the interim, we want you to work in conjunction with, is his name Corey Brewer?
TJ.
TJ Brewer.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, we want you to work with them, and they're a great resource for us out in that end of the county, and so
Oh yeah, I
they're
agree.
they're prepared. They have the equipment. They can do training. They can provide equipment. They want to work with you.
Sounds good. I'm glad to hear that.
Okay.
Because
Well, I wanted to make sure you heard that from me, because I did meet with him
okay,
and Jerry at the Branding Iron one day, and we discussed all this, and I told him if they're willing to provide that service for that amount of money, there's no need for us to spend a lot of money right now
okay,
till maybe the community gets big enough that we need to do something different.
that's awesome. And that was my main priority, to keep that tax base
Okay.
raised every year.
Yeah,
So, and we done that. So now it's $46,000 a year,
right.
and I think we got one more year. Right?
Of that contract. We
Mhm.
we renewed that contract
For-
last year for
Yeah,
for a
it's
couple
every
years.
2 years.
that fixed amount.
But I
So-
think he's willing to renew that contract for an extended period of time, so.
That's awesome. That's
if
good.
it
It's good
saves us money and so forth, but, we want to involve the people in Spanish Valley that want to volunteer as well, and be
Yeah.
part of the fire department down there. We want to,
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep on, having them go to trainings.
Yeah.
So when that time comes, they're ready to take over.
okay,
Sounds good. Thank you so
All right.
much for talking with
You bet.
them.
Thank you.
okay. Number 8, consideration and approval of rural grant funding allocations for San Juan County businesses. Elaine, will you give us that update?
I will. Thank you very much for this time. Pratt Red, I see he's our chair on the County Economic Development Board. We had over 42 applications for grant funding requests throughout the county. It amounted to over $1.2 million in requests that people wanted. Of course, we only had $175,000 that we could allocate. And the said board met a week ago, and Pratt facilitated the meeting. So, Pratt, I don't know if you want to give a little bit of insight into our decisions and what we did. We did allocate $13,000 to Spanish Valley, $73,000 to Monticello, $32.1 to Blanding, and $56.9 to Bluff. So everybody, we spread it around based on it all. But Pratt will give you just a little bit of insight on the decision making. I think here you go.
Yeah, I can make sure everyone can hear me. This has been a process every year since we started doing this. This is now year 3. Every year it's hard because there's projects that merit the money, there's projects that do not, and it's hard to tell someone no, because we know that they all need the funding. But each year we have a pretty extensive application process. Some of the requirements include being licensed in a registered business. We want to award people that are doing things the right way, and not just signing up the day of and getting these funds. But as you look through this list, there's quite a variety. We have everything from plumbing to we have the Dinosaur Museum, we have camping, glamping grounds, we have quite a wide variety of projects that we feel like will benefit the county as a whole. One of our main goals is to make sure that the funds that we award will come back to us with other sales tax, TRT taxes, or with job creation in one way or another. But we had everyone but one board member, and we went through and we ranked these on our own. And then we had about a 3-hour meeting where we go through each project extensively and we allocate funds based on their request and based on their needs. And then there's certain things that we didn't fund, like if they were asking for, say, an employee, we typically didn't pay for an employee, but we would pay for maybe it's equipment or certain things within the business that we felt, again, would have a high return on investment for us from the county's standpoint. Overall, it's a really fun project. I think the board learns a lot every year, and I appreciate the board. I appreciate Elaine and all the hard work her and her office put into this. But overall, we're pretty confident with the 28 projects that are in front of you. With the amount of money that they have been awarded, we feel that that will come back threefold to the county, and we're going to make this money back in various ways and be a benefit to those around us and those in the communities that these businesses will serve.
Thank you, Pratt. We had a lot of discussion about each one of the they had to read all the 42. I read all 42 applications, and they read all 42. And then we got together in Blanding and decided, and of course we couldn't award. But one thing, I did have a meeting with Ryan Starks, who's the head of the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, and told him that we just 200,000 to our county just isn't going to cut it anymore, and we need more money. So he said he can't do anything this year, but he's going to go to the legislators for next year and see if that amount can't be doubled. I mean, they need to do something. We just can't. 200,000 is enough for our county. So hopefully he'll be able to plead our case and get us more funding, because all of the dollars that we allocated, as Pratt had indicated, we feel are really going to come. That's the goal. We're going to give you money for tax money and have it produce additional revenue within San Juan County. We're not just giving out free money just because we feel good. So we think, and some of the we only gave away, I think it was 10, I believe, people received allocations last year. This year we were able to spread it a little bit more. They didn't get all the money they asked for, but I think this is really going to make a difference. Does anyone have any questions?
So it looks like, how many did you say you funded out of 42? 28.
28 people. Mm-hmm.
So this is totally grant money. They don't have to come up with matching money or anything like that. They just make a presentation to you and try and justify
They
what.
fill out their application, and the application this year process was more rigorous than it was last year. And the reasoning behind that was that with more information on the application this year, once we received their application, reviewed it, there could be another grant that could be available. I'm working with Megan McFall from the university, because if we see there are other grants out there, then we have the application information already. We don't have to go back and say, fill out another. We've got it. And we could look for other grant funding opportunities. So, so that's what, and we tried to spread it. I mean, I think if people needed equipment for a restaurant, we have, some things we funded that don't exist, like a rock climbing, which is in Spanish Valley, even though they call it Moab. I said, I don't care what you call it. You can call it Moab, anything, as long as we get the money. I don't care what you call it. So we funded that, and I think, tree trimming service. So it's just sort of all different types of businesses. And it's really, we haven't told these recipients yet that they're getting the money. We're excited about it. We've got Erin Nelson and her husband, who's a chef. He's going to open up they're opening a restaurant in Bluff, and we're happy to contribute the grant funding to them. They're going to have a wonderful barbecue restaurant down there. They're ordering special equipment. So things like that can really help the local community and help San Juan County overall.
Well, first of all, just having sit on a board that allocates grant and loan funds for 15 years, I want to thank Pratt and members of the board because I know you'd like to allocate as much money as you can to each project that is worthy,
Right.
and there's always need for more money to allocate to these kind of things because they really are helpful. They're not necessarily wants, they're needs. And so appreciate Pratt and your board and you, Elaine, for having the foresight to have this program in the county to help these businesses. And I'm very supportive of what you're doing. Anybody else want to make a comment?
Well, I'm one of the cheerleaders of these programs. If Elaine and I got together, we can do lots of good things.
Yeah,
We have that
I'm
kind of brain. Anyway, I just excited because some of them got enough money to do something. Because sometimes if we don't give them enough, it doesn't help. And so enough for we can see results. And I like the idea that you're not discarding the other ones that you're going to put in hold because we can be looking for opportunities where, for other grants, and we have people that on grant boards that maybe we can do other things. But I am appreciative of the time. This takes time being contacting people.
Right.
So I appreciate you guys.
Well, thank you. We enjoy, even though we put the application out in December, have them apply, and then the board, they did a great job of going through and reading through, and I sat and read through the applications, and it's really great to see people's visions in our county for their businesses, and that's why it would be great to have more funding that we could give. And I hope this coming December, when we do this again, I'm counting on the money that we're going to get, but that we have more participation from the Navajo Nation. I did mention it to the chapters. I sent the link out, but I'm not sure if there's a little bit of fear in applying. They're not sure, whatever. But maybe we can do a little bit more to reinforce their involvement. So this coming year, and Jamie, Commissioner Harvey, I might be calling on you to give me a hand in getting that message out there a little bit more. And Commissioner Stubbs, I know you're close with some of the other chapters, so I might rely on both of you to help me to push that message out there because they're eligible as well.
Well, thank you.
Jamie, you have anything you want to say?
Just thankful for the work. And I know reading a lot of documents, it sounds like. So. But we support you. I know I support you. We all support you in asking for more money. And
Good.
that's something we will continue to do.
Whatever you can do next legislative session to ask for because in the rural grant, there's Part A, which is what we get for $200,000, and then there's Part B. But they did talk about the possibility of taking the Part B and maybe moving it in. So I don't know what, Ryan Starks has in mind, but anything that we could do to get more money funneled down here for grant in our county would be appreciated. So whatever he can do.
Elaine, if you'll let us know when those hearings take place
Okay.
on the rural grant money, we'll be glad to attend.
Okay, thank you.
There, so-
Thank you. I'll check and see.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the grant funding allocation as presented?
I'll motion.
Motion by Jamie,
I'll second.
second by Sylvia. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also, that's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Okay, appreciate that. Is there more you want to tell us?
No, just on to the next. I have a.
Okay, you have the next
I
one?
have a.
All right, number 9. Consideration and approval of the lease agreement with San Juan County and Paul Hansen for the billboard in Hanksville.
Yeah. So the billboard is a contract for us to rent the billboard for $1,000 a year, which is very affordable. And I have to have Mr. Hanson or his representative sign the lease. So the first step is to get the commission to approve the lease agreement, and then I will forward it on for their signature. And the last part of this arduous process to get this billboard is the easement that Mac and I are going to work on to develop so that we can actually put new, photography up on the billboard. And hopefully we can get that done before it gets too late in the year. But this is such a great opportunity for us in San Juan County. So anyway, this is approval of this lease agreement and taking over the responsibility from Black Oil, who granted us and consented that they agreed that we would take over San Juan County would own the billboard.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Jamie. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Sylvia. Now, do we have further discussion?
No.
No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Yeah, but for me to sign now, or Mac will get it? Okay, that's fine. We'll get it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all your
Oh,
support.
thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. You're doing a great job.
Thank you very much.
Okay, number 10, consideration approval of chip seal fog oil purchase. TJ, is he online or
No, I'll take
Okay.
care of that.
he's
out of
pushing
town
snow,
right
huh?
now. No, he was out of town, and so he'd asked that I'd step in on this one. This one, every year as we do chip seal on our roads, we purchase the oil well in advance of the season so that we kind of get economies of scale and a good price before everybody hits the market wanting oil. And so our road department and TJ does an awesome job about reaching out to vendors to find their pricing. This one here is a sole source. We've used them in the past routinely, and they've been able to hold their prices as oil prices increased last year. Because of these commitments early on, they were able to hold costs to us. So we like that when they treat us well. We like to treat those vendors well in return. So this fiscal impact, and this is why you see it before you today, is $563,680. It is in their budget for this oil to help chip seal the roads. So this is the beginning of our projects for this next year with the road department. So you'll see these come to you as they continue to get the quotes for chips and the oil.
Okay, if you approve this one, Sylvia, you just spent $500,000.
Wow.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Sylvia. Second?
I'll second.
Second by Jamie. Further discussion?
I just want to make a comment. This is one that you feel so good to give it to them. They work so hard. Hopefully they can fix potholes.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, but I'm so appreciative of them as we travel back and forth and having the roads clear, and they have worked hard this year, and so glad to be able to make their life a little bit easier.
Well, this chip seal is to help prevent potholes before they happen, but they do have to fix a lot of potholes. Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. So Todd can spend $500,000 today. Number 11, consideration and approval of administrative law judge services with Cheryl Luke for a singular appeal hearing for San Juan County. Mac, will you
Correct.
explain that one
So-
to us?
We have a specific case that had gone to our appeal hearing process. In that process, one of the parties felt that our current ALJ, which is Lynn Creswell, kind of ruled too fast or didn't take everything into consideration, and so they asked for us to weigh in on a motion to disqualify Lynn Creswell as the ALJ. That time I reached out to another county's ALJ to take a look at the motion to disqualify. Originally, so we didn't have this piece in our ordinance for administrative law judge hearings or administrative appeal hearings. And so this was kind of unfamiliar territory for us. Never had a motion to disqualify our ALJ and have another ALJ look at it. And so as I went through that process, reached out to another county's ALJ and asked him just to take a look at it to see if it had merit, if there was, standing in that motion to disqualify. That secondary ALJ had gone through and looked at the hearing, the facts of the hearing, and met with both of the parties. This specific hearing, we have King County's attorney representing San Juan County, where Alex and Brittany at the time when she was just at her part-time position became overwhelmed all of a sudden with the workload with Kendall leaving. So we reached out to King County to help. And so we have King County as representing us and the other party. Both of them met with the secondary ALJ, and it was found that they did rule in favor of the motion to disqualify, and so they disqualified Judge Creswell. So then I began the process of finding a temporary ALJ. I reached out to anybody that had an ALJ. We've been working with Lynn Creswell to establish a statewide county administrative hearing process, and we've put together a short list, about 5 individuals. So I started down that list contacting the 5 individuals. 3 of the individuals on that list had conflicts of interest, whether they were already involved in cases in San Juan County and couldn't be part of that. And then I reached out to other counties' ALJs, had a bid of $225 an hour. Some just absolutely refused. One individual out of Saratoga Springs, he was the ALJ out of Saratoga Springs. He is still working for the city and felt that it would kind of be a problem with his URS if he started working for us during this appeal process. So he was one that I looked at. Weber County has an ALJ for administrative employee hearings that I reached out to. He was around $225 an hour. He would take on that plus expenses. And then I found this Cheryl Luke. Cheryl Luke is out of Salt Lake City, has extensive ALJ experience. Her costs are around $125 an hour. Felt that was a little bit more reasonable. Lynn Creswell, he charges us $100 an hour, so it's just a tish over what Lynn charges. She's willing to step in and hear this case, but it's really only to hear the Sky Ranch Subdivision Estates Phase 2 appeal. She'll take on all of that caseload and start working with King County on trying to settle that administrative hearing at that level. And so that's what this contract represents, just a one case type situation. And then we'll work on with Lynn. Lynn is working on our appeals ordinance. Obviously, we have some work on several ordinances combining. One of the things this year, we only budgeted $25,000 for administrative law judge costs. So far, when we reached out to that ALJ to look at the motion to disqualify, his costs have already come back around $12,000. he said he's going to work with us on that, and so I've got $12,000 already eaten up of the 25,000. Last year, Lynn, we were around $23,000 in costs, and so our budget is going really fast. And then if we've got Lynn looking at our ordinances as well, I've got to work with him to see what those costs are. That 25,000 isn't going to stretch very far with these unique situations that we're in right now. But hopefully we can make some moves and some changes in here that will help. I think all in all, I'd rather go down this road than spending the hundreds of $1,000s in court costs. And so it still saves us money by going these routes and making sure that we have a firm and secure administrative hearing process.
Okay. Clear as mud.
Yeah,
One time,
I appreciate that, Glenn.
one-time appeal officer. So do we have a motion to approve number 11, the administrative law judge service agreement with Cheryl Luke?
I motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Jamie,
I'll second.
second by Sylvia. Further discussion? Seeing none, everybody, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye also, that's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Number 12, ratification of a letter regarding BIA proposed rural land acquisition. We've seen this letter before. Nick presented it to us 2 or 3 weeks ago. This is just to ratify the action that we've already taken. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
Motion by Jamie,
I'll second.
second by Sylvia. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also, that's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Appreciate that. Okay, everybody under the table. Under the table, under your chair right now. Number 13, is that where we're at, Matt? Consideration and approval of a revision number 1 to amendment number 2 between Javiation and San Juan County. Mac.
So back in 2016 is when we began the design and discussion for the Cal Black runway rehabilitation and lighting project. And since that time, we've been, we secured the funding, did the design for the funding with that funding, and then secured the funding for the project, finalized the project, and we continue to work forward on the lighting side of it. So several years have commenced since the original agreement. This agreement, modifications to the agreement, really is a structural change where they have costs that are allocated to certain line items in the agreement. All this does is just changes those line item costs. It doesn't exceed, so there's not a fiscal increase to this budget. On the contract, it's more of where they can allocate money towards in the line items of the contract. This is critical, more so for the accounting purposes and knowing that it's an FAA funded project. During COVID, the federal government stepped in and paid for a majority of the projects, 100%. And we were appreciative of that because it meant that the county had to pay less on the match. So typically, the FAA pays for the largest portion, and then we're supposed to pay 10%, and that's shared with the state. State pays 5%, we pay 5% on any airport project. And on this one here, where the federal government paid for 100% of it, that meant that we didn't have to pay our 5%, neither did the state. But accounting-wise, we still want to make sure that there are buckets of money that they can account for in those buckets that they need it. So where on the runway and rehabilitation project, it took a little bit more project management oversight with that. Plus, I don't know if you realize that when we had the bridge that was also out on the highway there at Cottonwood Wash, that also impacted this project and delayed it for a year. So there's additional costs that went to project management. And so really this is just lining up the buckets of money in the contract so that they can get the reimbursements out of those specific buckets where the work actually took place and was performed for accounting purposes. That's all this does is formalize that.
So there's no increase in cost, just rearranging.
Just rearranging the buckets.
Okay,
Do you have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Motion by Sylvia, second.
I'll second.
Second by Jamie. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye also, that's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Number 14, consideration and approval of the San Juan County Homeless Infectious Disease Reduction Grant. Okay,
This was another grant that the local homeless coordinating committee put forward to the state. I have a staff report in here somewhere. Might be backwards. But with this project here, we had put in and applied for funding to help any homeless issues here in San Juan County, and it was a specific grant tied to infectious disease reduction in any county, in any shelter. Here in San Juan County, we have Gentle Iron Hawk, which is a shelter, and the Women Domestic Violence Shelter. But we also have the St. Christopher's Mission just outside of Bluff that is also sheltering needs there. And then we also have Sea Caven that also is a presence here in the county, more so in Grand, but they are here in San Juan County. And so this $20,000, the scope of work that I put forward on there is to help the shelters if they have an individual in there and they're trying to prevent COVID spread just as much as anybody else in the sheltering. They've got bedding and pillow tops, sheets, and towels and things like that they would need to keep clean, plus the chemicals to clean them, the chemicals to clean the facilities, mops, vacuums, things like that. And so I thought of them as just being able to help them out. So if they need new bedding, they can purchase that, and making sure that they have 5 days of bedding, so that they can rotate sheets and pillow tops to avoid that spread. Plus, the thought was, that we can then extend some of our programs to the shelter. So, say you have a Gentle Iron Hawk, you have a female that's in their shelter with domestic violence that has kids, then we can work with them to make sure that they have their vaccinations, or do they need WIC services, and kind of tie the health department public offerings, public health tasks to the shelters as well, kind of go hand in hand to work with them. If they needed COVID shots, vaccinations, we could help bridge that gap at the shelter level. And so that's really what this 20,186 will help out with. We'll run this through the LHC and then work as a reimbursable to the shelter. When I spoke to St. Christopher's Mission, they were super appreciative of being able to help out. And what it does is it helps their money go further. The church, obviously, they work the mission, they work off of donations there. And so anytime they can get additional dollars to help offset their costs, then it just makes their money go a little bit further. And so we're appreciative of what they do, the services that they render, and this money will help further their missions.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve this reduction grant?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Jamie,
A second.
second by Sylvia. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye also, that's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Next on our agenda is commission reports. If we can just make a short report a little bit for this one. We have an executive session afterwards, so we have 2 items. Who would like to start? Do you want me to?
Yeah, you can start.
Okay. I'll just report on our efforts at the legislature. First of all, I think we came away with two really good takeaways from the legislature. First was the BNC road funds that passed the legislature, which puts in $40 million one time and $6 million ongoing to the counties that qualify for the BNC road funds. And just in a nutshell, what that will do for San Juan County, it will double the amount that we have been getting. We'll get double that amount with this new money, which is really a big deal for our road department. The second item was the increase in funding for prisoners that we have in our jail that we house for the state of Utah, which is about 50, 60, 70 prisoners ongoing. We have a program that deals with sex offenders, and the increase in rate will help tremendously. Because of the programming funding, we also get an increase in programming funding as well as the daily rate. And so this might be helpful as we look to remodeling our facility, enabling us to maybe look at a revenue bond to take care of that. We've got Mac that's been following that, looking into it, but I do have some conferences that I want to make both of you aware of that are coming up, and I've got them in on Natalie's. No, I've got them right here. Okay, you might already have taken notice, but on April the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th is the UAC Building Utah Conference in St. George at the Dixie Center. On April 26th, it's 25th through 28th, is the UAC Management Conference in Salt Lake at the new Salt Palace Convention Center, and the hotel there is the Hilton Hotel. So if you guys want to go to these, we need to get reservations made as soon as possible. The next one would be May 17th through 19th. Actually, it's the 16th through 20th. It's NACO WIR, a national conference. It'll be held in St. George. I don't have the actual location of that one yet.
Is that in May?
Yeah, it's in May 16 through 20. Again, September 13th through 15th is the UAC USACCC, the commissioners only. Our fall meeting will be at Ruby's Inn in Bryce Canyon. November 14th through 17th is our annual convention of UAC. Again, it's held in St. George at the Dixie Convention Center. These last three, you can't get your motel reservations yet. They haven't opened it up for reservations, but I just want to make you aware of it. And then in conjunction with the management conference, let's see, no, that's not right. We have Joint Highway Committee meeting, and I will represent the county at that meeting on the 21st in St. George. But it's an open meeting if you want to go to it and see what's going on. But just want you to put those on your calendar. And
There's also something in July in Texas.
Yeah, that's the NACO conference in Texas, in Austin, in July. And I think, have you made your reservations for that yet?
No, I know.
Okay.
I think Anne-Marie
Did she do it?
worked on that with you guys already. And so
Okay.
we have their hotels. You already signed up.
Yeah,
for the
I think so.
flights.
Okay.
Alright, so we have you covered for the July.
Okay.
Just let me know if you want to go to the April in Dixie. That one, like you mentioned, was more
Okay.
road department-esque
Yeah.
in discussion, more infrastructure.
I'll get back with you on those.
So, okay.
Okay, who wants to report next?
Well, I can go next. I think the main thing I have been doing the last few weeks is going to the legislature, and it has been very educational, and I'm so appreciative, Commissioner Adams, because he introduced me to many of the key people, and we went to many of the meetings they had, so where we can be part of the decision in the Wapeta County. It was a very interesting lesson for me, because at first I thought, seemed like I couldn't figure out. But last night, as I was going over the bills that we have worked on, I can see the process, and so I was very excited. And returning back home now, and now that we're not going up that way, I have been attending by Zoom meetings in Oljedo, and so now part of the time I've been concentrating down south. I'm going to Navajo Mountain on Saturday, and so we'll proceed that way. So I want to thank Mac. He always save a seat, and some of the conference, some of the caucus we went. The one that's called the Cowboy one is the most popular because it had the best breakfast. So you really had to get there early, and anyway, and so I appreciate Mac introducing me, and I always like when he can say the name of the person first, because I couldn't keep track of all the new names. By the end, I got a little bit better, but it was a wonderful experience, and now I'm a convert to the idea. I think it's very important for us to go and sell our business and tell some people that we are open for business in San Juan County. So
Okay, Jamie.
Thank you, Chair. I've got 3 items I want to quickly report on for the commissioners, for the public. First item is regarding Anna chapter. I scheduled a meeting with the county administrator and myself. I think Sylvia's also been invited, but based on her schedule. It's this coming Friday. I believe we start at 10 a.m. I plan to be there in person. I'm not sure, Mac, you're coming down. But we're going to sit down with Anna chapter. They initiated the request to meet with us, and they're most likely asking for updates in regards to some county initiatives. I think broadband's going to be one of them. Another one's going to be roads, and they're most likely going to inquire on the status of roads and maintenance and our progress with the Navajo Nation and BIA. And we'll have to see what else would be important to them. I invited Elaine to come down specifically because of the next item I'm going to report on. And that second item is I attended a meeting with the Navajo Utah Commission. It was on a Friday, I think 2 Fridays ago. They had a special meeting, and the commission director, Clarence Rockwell, reported on a grant he has applied for. It's a grant for completing a feasibility study. A few years back, it's been quite some time now, I think it's between 2008 2009, the Navajo Nation had acquired 6 acres of land right at the intersection of Montezuma Creek. It's located specifically where the current post office is, and there was a new facility built on that. And they're trying to explore locating a grocery store or getting a grocery store constructed place on that 6-acre parcel. So Clarence is applying for that grant. It sounds like he would be much more successful if he were to secure some match funding. And I believe the state may not have available match funding, but I think that's going to be part of our discussion with Aneth, is just talking about some match funding sources for Navajo Utah Commission's grant application to get a feasibility study pot of money. And I'm not exactly sure if they're applying to the federal economic or the state, but I'm sure we'll get clarification on those details. But that is going to be an important effort for Montezuma Creek. They looked a couple of years back at getting Bashas interested in that 6-acre parcel, but I'm not sure why that effort just stopped. Maybe it's because of COVID something. But it sounds like the chapter is wanting to develop that 6-acre parcel, and looking at some interested maybe companies that might be willing to come, just as the Family Dollar Store did with the Utah Navajo Trust Fund land. I think they're looking at maybe a grocery store that would be interested in investing and building a facility there where there might be a grocery store. So that's a Navajo Utah Commission endeavor, and Navajo Utah Commission would benefit if we can assist in locating match funding resources that could help them secure the application they're trying to go for. And maybe we'll have more dialogue on that with Clarence Rockwell at some point. The final item is the San Juan, I think it's a Prevention Action Coalition through San Juan County. They have been going from community down south on the reservation. Their meeting they had in January was held in Monument Valley. This past month, February's meeting, they held in Montezuma Creek. And some of the uniform concerns, needs that were expressed at the mapping exercise through the Prevention Action Coalition was the need for policing, not community policing, but more presence for police. And so they would like to have the Navajo Nation Police Department come and provide more officers for Monument Valley, Mexican Hat, Montezuma Creek communities. And I think that discussion itself will eventually end up on striking up the conversation about, can we talk about a mutual assist agreement between the county and the Navajo Nation? I think the nation or the community is aware of a mutual assist agreement that is in place since November. I think it was highway. I think it's the state highway and Navajo PD have a mutual assist agreement in place where they're able to just assist, support each other. And I think there may be some discussion about initiating one that could be in place for the county and Navajo Nation. I think the biggest struggle is getting Navajo Nation on board, present at these discussions, and being able to have some dialogue with the community members and perhaps with the sheriff to figure out some solutions. It is an endeavor that will take some time, but I think with the help of Courtesy Nito, his ability to reach out to maybe law and enforcement committee with the council, maybe hopefully by summertime we'll have some meetings set where we're able to have more communication with Navajo PD, maybe Shiprock, Kayenta, Tuba City District to work towards some solutions. One big issue that was shared was from parents and their children, specifically concerns about the high school itself, some safety issues, drugs and alcohol, and that curiosity allowed me to sit down with the principal, Kim Schaefer herself, and I was able to meet with her to get more information about those concerns that were expressed during the Prevention Action Coalition meeting. And it seems like there's a need for more nurses in the school district. There's no public resource officer that is in Whitehorse High School. I don't know how long that's been, but I was surprised to hear there's no public safety officer. Don't know how long that's been that way. And there's need for access to therapists. And that's kind of ironic because Utah Navajo Health System is just next door. But I think what the school district is limited to is being able to contract externally with other entities. And that's worth exploring. I'm sure that the therapists that the district has, they're limited in number. They're probably dealing with student volume. And you know how the story goes. Do less and try to do more. You can only do so much with so many people available district-wide. But I do know that Kim is coming before the school district board on March the 8th. I plan to be there to express some of her sentiments, which is the students need access to nurses. Students need access to a public resource officer who's available, who's in the school to provide safety. And then the third is exploring alternatives to getting other entities to bring in therapists and providers to the school. From my understanding, Whitehorse High School had a couple suicide incidents recently. And so those are areas that I think we can do more in trying to identify support. But those are some of the concerns and issues that I became aware of this past month through the San Juan County Prevention Action Coalition. I think we have a great group of employees within San Juan County who were actually out there present, facilitating community input, and because of their efforts, a lot of these issues have come to surface. And so great work to our county counseling and the employees that are there. And so that's just some issues that I just wanted to share that do exist in our county, and perhaps with concerted effort, we're able to solve and address some of these issues to make our communities better, safer, and to build a healthier community. So thank you, commissioners.
Okay. Appreciate those reports. And as everybody can see, the commissioners are busy all the time. almost as busy as the county attorney. We're glad to have you back. Did you go to Australia or New Zealand? Ooh, what a fun time. Okay, we need to go into executive session to take care of 2 matters. So I need a motion to go into executive session.
Okay, I'll motion that we go into executive session.
Okay, we have a second, all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, we're now in executive